If you've spent any time reading about the future of work lately, you've probably heard the same advice from every direction, every policy paper, every career coach, every LinkedIn post is telling you to learn new skills, get a new certification, take a course, and you'll be fine. The message is everywhere. It sounds completely reasonable, and almost nobody is questioning whether it actually works. But what if the entire idea of learn a new skill and you'll be safe is solving the wrong problem, and the people giving that advice haven't thought through why it keeps failing? Here's the logic behind reskilling, and it's worth understanding, because it used to be right. Your old task got automated, so you learned a new task that hasn't been automated yet. That worked in previous generations because the new task stayed stable long enough to build a career around them. A factory worker could retrain as a technician, and that technician role would exist reliably for 20 years, maybe longer. But the situation we're in now doesn't work like that. The tools don't automate one task and then stop. They keep moving. The new skill you spent 6 months learning might have a shorter shelf life than the time it took to learn it. So you're not climbing a new ladder, you're jumping between ladders that keep disappearing underneath you. And here's the part that makes this different from anything we've dealt with before. These tools aren't just automating simple, repetitive work. They're automating sophisticated work, the kind that took years of training and genuinely felt like real expertise. Writing legal briefs, building financial models, drafting medical summaries, producing technical analysis, all of it increasingly within reach of the tools. When the floor keeps rising, learning one more specific skill that sits just above the current line doesn't give you the safety net you think it does. And there's a distinction hiding inside this that most people miss. There's a difference between a skill and real expertise. A skill is the ability to perform a specific task, and that's exactly what reskilling programs teach. But expertise is something deeper. It's the contextual judgment you build over years of working through messy, real-world situations where the right answer wasn't obvious. Reskilling addresses the skill layer, but the disruption we're living through is increasingly hitting the expertise and judgment layer, and no certification program is built to develop that. And this isn't just a theory. History has actually tested it, and the results are uncomfortable. After World War II, Germany retrained thousands of shipyard workers for the booming car industry. For the workers doing routine, repetitive tasks, the transition worked well because they were essentially swapping one kind of structured work for another. But the highly skilled workers and experienced managers failed the retraining programs, and it wasn't because they weren't smart enough or didn't work hard enough. Their deep expertise in one context had become a kind of rigidity in another. They knew exactly how to build ships, but they had no practice navigating a world where everything they knew no longer applied. The very thing that made them valuable in the old system made them brittle in the new one. And this isn't just a history lesson. The same thing happened recently. A major global financial company projected 200,000 layoffs over 10 years due to automation and launched a well-funded reskilling initiative. Within 2 years, nearly all of the original 1,000 employees in the program had left the company. These weren't low performers. They were some of the company's strongest people, and they called the reskilling program treading water, meaning an enormous amount of effort just to maintain the same professional standing they already had. The program wasn't building anything new for them. It was asking them to start over while pretending it was progress. So if reskilling doesn't solve the problem, what does? The thing that separates people who navigate disruption from people who get stuck isn't a specific skill on their resume. It's adaptability, the ability to learn how to learn, to sit with uncertainty, and to work through problems that don't come with a template. And here's what makes that insight land harder than it first sounds. As the tools make certain skills less scarce, they actually make adaptability, judgment, and discernment more scarce by comparison, because those are the capacities that can be automated and the ones every organization is going to need most. But these aren't soft skills you can bolt onto an existing skill set in a weekend workshop or a 6-week certification. They're deep capacities that get built over years through a specific kind of experience, direct experience with failure, with unstructured problems, and with situations where nobody can tell you the right answer because there isn't one yet. And here's where this gets bigger than any one person's career. When someone early in their career uses a tool to skip past the hard, messy, frustrating work, they're not just skipping a task. They're skipping the experience that builds the very adaptability they're going to need when the next shift comes. The struggle isn't an obstacle on the way to expertise. It's the mechanism that builds it. And our education systems, our hiring processes, and our professional development infrastructure were all designed to build people who could execute specific tasks reliably, which made sense when the tasks were stable and the tools were simple. But we now live in a world where the tools can handle their own execution. And if we keep building people to be tools in that world, we reach a dead end because there will always be a cheaper, faster tool. The future doesn't belong to the person with the longest list of skills on their resume. It belongs to the person who can walk into a situation where nobody knows the answer and start working through it. So what do you actually do with this? You stop thinking about your career as a collection of skills to maintain and start thinking about it as a practice of navigating things you haven't seen before. Seek out the work that doesn't have a template. Volunteer for the project where the outcome isn't clear. And put yourself in situations where you might fail and have to figure your way through it, rather than follow a script. That discomfort you feel when there's no clear answer and no obvious next step is not a problem. That's the training. Every hour you spend learning to sit with uncertainty and work through it is worth more than any certificate on your wall. Drop a comment and tell me, what's something you figured out the hard way that no course could have taught you?